Todd, I'm glad you're doing this thing on the Turnpike and Gulf Roads.
Oh,
When that was first fixed several years ago, and I complained to Mr. Pinney, he threw me out of his office. So I'm glad you're doing it. No, I'm just saying. I'm glad you brought it up, though.
we've been going through it for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Requests.
Well, I know you've been doing some. I know the police department's been doing speed checks and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Call to order tonight's special Board of Selectmen meeting. Today is July 25th, 2024, Thursday, for Town Hall. We're going to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Roll call. We have quite a few guests this evening. We have, on my right, we have Selectman Bill Meyer. On my left, we have Selectman Bob Schmidt. We also have, on my left, Director Kim LaFleur, Director of Operations. On my right, we have Brian Wissinger, our Chief Financial Officer, and Mike Marinaccio, our Assistant Treasurer. In the audience, we have, we have Todd Rowland, Director of Land Use and Public Works. We have Jen Roy, Zoning Enforcement Officer. We have Andrea Vetrano, our Town Sanitarian. We have Ray Stovall. What's your current title, Ray? I'm not even sure what the hell it is. It changes so often. I don't know. I don't want to call you, but the guy with the smile on his face. That's good. Okay. Well, from the fire department, of course, Ray Stovall, and we have Chief Lenart, and we also have who's what's your name? I'm sorry.
Speak up.
Heidi Pfeiffer,
Heidi Pfeiffer.
And what's your position?
a volunteer.
Heidi Pfeiffer.
Volunteer
Okay.
fire. Okay, thank you. Gotta speak
Is that
up.
with a PH or is that how do you spell Pfeiffer?
Pfeifer.
EISER. Wow.
You did a great job. Good job, Heidi. Good job.
PS. Okay. Thank you very much. I could have guessed all day and I wouldn't have guessed that. It was excellent. Okay. Thank you. Public comment. I don't believe we have any public here this evening. Presentation by First Selectman. A couple things I'd like to mention. First of all, the 1st of August is the last day to pay taxes without interest, and that's both auto and home. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
I paid.
I'm gonna make sure I do that myself.
I paid one, not the other.
Take your own advice.
Got one of the bills late in mail. I got to make sure I attend to that. Also, National Night Out is Tuesday, August 6th, from 5 to 8 p.m. It's at Field Road Park. As you know, this is sponsored by the fire department here in town, but it's an opportunity to hear from the fire department, see there are some other both the police department and the fire department, see some of the operational gear, talk to some of the people. We had over 200 people show up last year. It's a very well-attended event. I think we might even have some food coming in, do we not?
They're going to have
Yeah, there was food there last year.
a dunk tank and all kinds of fun stuff.
Right.
Everything's
If you want to
free.
get dunked, show up.
free.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll get to dump you.
It's hopefully we'll have good weather, but it was a very nice event last year, and I encourage people to attend if they can with their families. Also, I just want to mention that I'd like to arrange for a Board of Selectmen executive session next Thursday at 5 p.m. to discuss a proposed settlement from AFL-HB, what is it? AN, right. The solar farm on Bilton Road, basically is what it is.
Okay. At 5 o'clock you want it?
5 o'clock next Thursday.
And then we have a regular meeting at 6.
Right,
Okay, so a
Yeah.
special meeting at 5?
right. Executive session.
Executive session at
Yeah.
5? Okay. All right.
To talk about a proposed settlement. And I've talked to the town attorney. I haven't talked to him. I just sent him an email notifying him of this. So I haven't heard back from him, so I'm assuming he'll be available.
So it's about the
Solar farm on Bilton Road.
Okay.
Right, which, as you know, we've spent quite a few dollars with them with regards to our attorney's fees. And,
Yeah.
it's been an ongoing issue for many, many years. Okay, that's all I have. Consent agenda, boards and commissions, I think we have nothing there. You're right. Finance, transfers and appropriations, nothing there. CFO, finance report.
Guess really the only,
Update would be that the Board of Finance meeting on Tuesday was canceled. There wasn't any actionable items, though they will be having a special meeting on August 6th at 7 o'clock. So really the only actionable item in that will be a resolution for bonding that you guys will be voting on tonight. So assuming that you pass it, it'll go to Board of Finance.
That's the only bonding item they're going to consider is what we're talking about tonight. Is that
For the
correct?
roads, right?
Yep.
The roads, okay.
Well, I hope so. My people in my neighborhood are excited about it.
Don't get them too excited.
Well,
It's not all that great. really.
all I'm telling you is they've been looking for this for about 15 years.
Well, it's a good thing. Obviously, we'll be discussing that when we get to it. It's an awesome proposal. Anything more from the CFO? Presentations of scheduled payments. We've got quite a few this week because, as you know, we haven't met as a board for 3 weeks now, and this is also the beginning of the fiscal year, so we've picked up some additional expenses like the police bill for $150,000 and several others. I actually have looked over and all these payments and asked questions about them, and all my questions were answered. So I have no problems with them myself, no issues that haven't been answered.
I had one question.
What's that?
So page 4, so just a little bit above the middle, Hatfield water hydrants, fire protection. I know I raised this last year as well. Chief Leonard, it's good you're in the room. And to Brian, did we follow up with them? I know I had requested last year a list of the hydrants as well as the maintenance logs for them.
I don't know if we ever got those or not.
Okay, because the issue with Connecticut Water, and again, Chief, I'm not sure, I know you're new, but the issue with them is they charge us $50 a year for maintenance for every hydrant.
for every hydrant?
And they don't do anything.
Okay.
So I want to make sure, and the only way to ensure they're doing their job and that all our hydrants work, they've been inspected, they should be painting them on a rotation, every 5 years or whatever. I want to make sure they're doing it because we pay them a huge amount of money. And what other communities have found is that Connecticut Water is not paying attention and they're not actually maintaining the hydrants. Are all the caps on? You guys shouldn't be finding any hydrants missing a cap.
Yeah.
So just things like that. I want to just ensure before we issue them a payment that we've got the maintenance logs, it's complete, every hydrant's in service.
We got 2 water bills on here on this list.
Yeah.
One is Hazardville Water, the other is Connecticut.
Yeah, so is it
Yeah.
Hazardville or Connecticut?
Well,
Water?
both of them.
Yeah, it's-
Whoever
I'll
has
make sure
hydrants
we
in
cover
town,
everything,
They
yeah.
both connect to hydrants in
yeah,
town?
but they
Okay.
should be doing the work, the
Yep.
water company, because they're charging us a lot of money.
Yeah,
I think it's
they do.
$50 per hydrant per year for inspections that they do in maintenance. So
You
let's
don't
see
want-
their records.
So you don't want to approve that yet?
I mean, I'm okay if we hold the check, but I just want to make sure that we have it.
Okay.
And that we ask them, because,
And we're going to hold the check or we're going to issue the check?
I mean, I'll leave it up
think-
to the chief and to Brian, and I mean, if we're
That's the
satisfied
best
with
way
their
to handle it,
response.
yeah.
So do you want to authorize?
So we can approve
this
it.
Payment
Yeah.
and then let them decide what
Exactly.
they're going to do with it?
That's a good way to go.
We do owe them the money, I just want to make sure they're doing their job.
You
Yeah.
just kind of, you make the motion then the way you would like.
Okay, yeah. So I think you guys know what to do. I'll just
Yeah.
make the motion to approve the scheduled payments in the amount of $856,673.
Second.
Correct. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have the- oh, he's got it.
Yeah. Yeah, okay.
I think the other question would be, and maybe, for another day, but I mean, none of those hydrants up the mountain have been put in service.
They're in service.
They
are in service.
they are.
As of when?
Months ago.
'Cause the one in front of my house still had the out of service thing on it, like, before I left on vacation, so maybe.
Really?
I'll
They're
check when I
supposed to
go
be in
home.
service. They're supposed to be in service, Bill.
Okay, I'll check when I go home. Maybe I missed it, but.
We as selectmen don't get any personal preference here. Well,
It's not that close to my house.
okay, all right.
Another 1 miles.
All right. Okay. All right. Updates on boards and commissions. We have none, I believe. Pending business. This first item on pending business is the item that we tabled at our last meeting, which was revisions to the Vendors and Hawkers Ordinance, Section 196-2, by adding the following language: food vendors, including food trucks, serving or selling food from private property where the property has a permit from the Summer Zoning Commission, allowing such service or sales are also exempt from terms of this ordinance. Jen Roy is the best person to discuss this, to explain to us. Our concerns, I think, were, number one, that we had in front of us a member of the public that was complaining about, that has a sort of outstanding complaint about food trucks to begin with, and was in the room, and we didn't have all the answers. We had to certain questions about whether they were getting, quote, a free ride, or with regards to the Murdochs related to where they can
For
pond
the
the
record,
vineyard.
Todd Rowland, Director of Public Works.
Yeah,
and
Todd,
Land Use.
okay.
Todd, hold on one second. Just as a quick point of order, Tim.
Oh, yeah,
just
Steve was tabled.
So that we don't,
All right,
so that
good
there's
point,
never
yeah.
any question, we should make a motion to take it off the table.
Right,
Because it was
I
tabled.
make a motion that we take it off the table, that it was tabled for the last meeting, this issue. Thank you.
Second that motion.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So the motion's open for discussion. It's been taken off the table. And maybe Ms. Roy could just explain a few things to us. That we didn't have an
Jennifer Roy,
opportunity
for
to
the record,
discuss.
ZEO. So I did watch your meeting and I think I understand the questions. I did,
Maybe you could just repeat what you think they are. So just,
excuse me,
for the record, just repeat what you
What
think
your-
the question was.
what I think your
Yeah.
concerns are?
Yeah.
I believe that you are concerned that this would exempt them from everything. I think my view of that ordinance has traditionally been, for the 9 years I've been here, that was for more solicitors going door to door in the neighborhoods. I do recognize.
And it's
I
an
do-
ordinance that was originally passed, I think, in 1952.
Right, and I think
So
the
it
fee
needs-
was like $20 or $25.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
when the Board of Selectmen increased it to $200, that's why, to deter door-to-door sales. But I do recognize that we should, and I did submit a memo, we should do a text amendment to our zoning regs for the food trucks. But any food truck or food vendor has to get a temporary permit from the sanitarian anyways. So this doesn't exempt them from general, rules
Oversight.
and regulations of the town.
Safety.
They're going to private property, and it says that they can only go there with someone who has a special use permit. So none of the food trucks that have ever been at the fair have ever had to get a hawker's permit and pay the $200. So I don't know if
So
you
what
had
are
a
the- what are
specific
the-
question for me. I mean, that's my view from
So I
zoning.
guess what are the plans
So
that you're going to propose to the zoning commission?
So I would draft similar wording, and obviously it's up to the zoning commission to, make an application themselves for a text amendment, allowing food trucks only where there's a special use permit, in which case they can set parameters. If a private property like Pleasant View or Sunny's wants a food truck there, it's up to them if they want to have a background check. The only background checks we've ever done is when they go to the lacrosse Bowers tournament.
I guess one of the questions is whether we need a special ordinance that relates specifically to food trucks.
I would say zoning regulations is a good place for it.
Would be sufficient?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Makes sense.
And I did share that memo that Jen drafted with this board yesterday. I don't know if you all had a chance to
Yeah,
look
we
at
did.
it.
I mean, typically.
We also, we got information as well from the town attorney, Carl, and Lena on this.
Right.
I just want to make sure, as far as like licensed restaurants or food establishments, there's rules, right, on occupancy, there's rules on fire safety codes, things like that. There's the liquor enforcement. I just want to make sure with food trucks that we are not leaving it up to private property owners to determine what's appropriate and what's not, that we still exercise some authority. I know, we have a mass gathering ordinance and things, but I want to make sure, like if alcohol is going to be served, and.
Only a caterer can serve alcohol. So you have to have a caterer's license to serve alcohol.
Okay.
Every food truck and food vendor has to get a temporary permit from our sanitarian. And it's good for 2 weeks? 15 days.
15 days.
So, and Andrea inspects them, makes sure that they meet the code for
Now,
health.
the state allows regional permits now for food trucks? Because I know they passed a state law, was it 2 years ago, where, where if you get a permit, say from, East Hartford Health District, that permit can then be valid in other parts of the state?
Yeah.
Is that the case?
You have to opt in. Each individual district
Gotcha.
or town has to opt in.
And we did not opt in?
Not as yet. No.
Okay.
And those are kind of two different things. This is more of the zoning aspect, and that's why this came up.
Right, and we don't, as a zoning regulation, allow food trucks unless the property has a special use permit. And under what Jen has put together is a recommendation that zoning takes this up and says they would allow food trucks if you have a special use permit under these guidelines that Jen has set forth here.
And it allows conditions, sorry to interrupt. It allows conditions. The zoning commission can do, which they already have done, for one special use permit. You can have one food truck, no generators, and the hours that they can be there.
Yeah.
So this exemption doesn't free up that a food truck can go anywhere in town at any time. That doesn't, because if this is just saying that they don't have to go through the hawkers and peddlers
Because it's not the best place for it.
ordinance.
Yeah, this whole
Vendors and
hawkers.
hawkers is was the intent is door to.
Yeah, I mean,
show
it
people
has language in here that
that-
talks about you can't be at a residence for more than 15 minutes.
Right,
I
so,
mean, that's just an indicator
Yeah.
that food
I'm
trucks
good with
last a
all
little
that.
bit longer than
And I'm
that.
good with food trucks. I'm fine with the idea of food
Yeah.
trucks. I'm fine with, but I want to make sure that we're still exercising some regulatory authority over this. Because I think there's a
Yes.
very legitimate governmental interest
Yes.
in regulating this type of activity. And I want to just make sure we're not leaving it up.
We're not exempting them from everything. in other
we're
words.
not.
Well,
But I do recognize, like I said, that we need to update that section in our zoning regulations to spell it out clearer now that it's more of a thing.
Okay.
a
Because,
food
the
truck.
town attorney made it sound like the regulation would shift to private
Yeah,
property, which
that's-
I'm not in favor of that.
No, that's just saying they don't have to go through that 4-page, hawkers and peddlers, I don't have it with me, application. I do. They don't have to go through all of this vetting just to park their truck there and sell some, hot dogs for a
I think what
day.
he meant too is that the private property owner who is sponsoring the food truck
Sure.
has some liability. that
Oh,
goes
yeah.
along with
Right.
it.
Well,
Being
somebody
property.
gets sick or there's an issue, it's going to fall to that property facility.
That's what he's
Certainly.
talking about.
All right, so zoning has no concerns with this proposed modification of the amendment. Land use doesn't, I mean, sanitarian, yeah, I mean, there's no concerns is what I'm hearing.
To the vendors and hawkers specifically,
Yes.
correct, yes.
Right.
With the intent that we're going to ask zoning to take this up over the next several months and come up with some kind of regulations or rules around food trucks. They will have to get a permit, and Andrea, it's only good for 15 days. There'll be conditions on even allowing food trucks on facilities that have a special use permit carve out. Everywhere else, there wouldn't be allowed still. They'd have to have a zoning special use permit.
How about on town property?
Town property is, that's a different.
Well, I mean, the town is actually exempt from the zoning regulations.
Well, we could follow the same regulations. If we're going to have a rec event and we're going to have a food truck, we would go through the sanitary and have the food truck get a permit and be inspected. And we do that anyways.
They have to, well, every food truck and food vendor has to get one from Andrea.
Okay, I just want to make sure, like the Little League decides to bring someone to Field Road Park.
They would have to come and ask permission because it's town property, it's not theirs. They might do it the first time until we find out about it.
I'm just saying, I mean, I know
But
how
a lot of
things
these
work.
organizations don't understand that it's not their property. But
Well,
that's a different problem.
lacrosse tournament's another example. right?
Yes, but they go through all of the process. They get a mass gathering permit.
Yeah.
They know what they're supposed to do.
Should we pass a separate food truck ordinance?
That might
Most
be-
towns have them.
Well, I think it's one or the other. I think you don't,
Well, why don't we let
either
the
do an ordinance or
zoning
you could do zoning
commission get a
regulation.
shot at this first
Yeah.
and see
Yeah.
what,
Yeah, I think that's what.
That might be
we
their,
can do from
their,
there.
their recommendation. We just haven't brought it up yet.
Okay, it's fine.
all right. So,
Can I just add?
please.
For your knowledge, food trucks are inspected for fire safety too. But it's just done by the location that the truck is registered.
How do you know about it, though?
So we.
If there's no permitting
right,
process.
We wouldn't know about it, but in order to get their,
I call over there.
okay. There you
They
go.
have a
So
fire suppression
they
system.
They have to be inspected, but it's by the municipality that the vehicle is registered. It has to do the inspection.
Okay. What is that, once a year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, Andrea even inspects the Little League.
Because the other nice advantage to a permit, like the hawker peddler's permit or a food truck permit, is that after hours, like a police officer could enforce it as well.
Right,
So
right.
if you're out there, the police officer says, "Hey, where's your permit?" And then the permit assumes the fire inspection was done, you comply with zoning. So that's the other simplicity to it, is Andrea doesn't have to come in on a Sunday and say, "Hey, where's your permit?" A police officer could.
She issues a permit.
But I'm saying, though, do they have a permit? How do you check? Like I said, if they have a town permit for a food truck, a police officer can see like the green permit and say, "Oh, they're good."
She issues an actual permit.
Well, I know that, but only for food, not for everything else.
Well, it's for the food truck.
But only for sanitation, though.
Well, she checks with the fire. I'm just saying they do, so they do
Yeah.
currently actually
But
have something that shows that they've notified the town. Because if you go to the event, say it's at Pleasant View Farm, and there's a food truck, if you went there on a Saturday, you could say, "Show me your permit."
Have you ever, I've worked with a lot of food trucks. What they'll do too is they'll pull like a North Central Health District permit and say,
Yeah.
"Here's my permit."
Yeah.
And a lot of cops are like, "Oh, okay, you got a permit." So.
Well, and I mean, let zoning take this up, and
Okay.
they're going to talk about it a lot, and they may come up with, we think the best thing to do is carve out a food truck permit, and this is the guidelines, then we'll come back to you
I'm fine with it.
for that.
It could be done. I mean, it could say that they need a zoning permit as well. So, I mean, I'll start with them and explain what's going on, and if they feel that a regulation is good, or if they would rather bounce it to you guys for an ordinance. But it's on our radar now that we need something.
And it hasn't been an issue yet in the past, although I know they're growing in popularity, so
Right.
it is something we should take up.
So if we adopt this tonight, then the winery still would not be allowed to put a food truck on the property because it's not yet been taken up by zoning, is that
No,
correct?
they can.
No.
The zoning already gave them approval under their special use permit.
Okay.
There's
It's
conditions
just-
listed, and one of the conditions is you may have one food truck or vendor at a time with no generators.
This just exempts the food truck from having to pay the fee that's required under the vendor's hawker's
The vendor's
ordinance.
Right, they're
Which
not,
wasn't
it exempts
originally-
them from the vendor's
This
hawker
was,
ordinance.
this was brought up through our recent year of, when they got approved. You're right, going before, in our public hearings, it was brought up by George Schober that they're supposed to get this, and that's not how I interpret the ordinance.
Okay, so I'd like to propose the motion to adopt the revision of vendors hawkers ordinance in section 196-2, adding the following language. Food vendors, including food trucks serving or selling food from private property where the property has a permit from the Summers Zoning Commission allowing such service or sales are exempt, or also exempt from the terms of this ordinance. That's the quote, that's the language. And it's to be effective 15 days after publication. Publication will be published in summary form.
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job. Thank you.
That's pending business. New business. First of all, we have a request regarding to adopt new state mandated food handling regulations. Todd Rowland and Andrea Vetrano.
Yes, as the letter states, you may be aware, on June 17th, 2017, Connecticut passed a bill establishing a new Food and Drug Administration model food code as Connecticut's food code. The new law began phasing in then and went into full effect on February 16th of 2023. There's a attached document there with the specifics that Andrea and our health director had worked out. What we're proposing is to adopt this language into our regulations. It would be Chapter 115, Food Handling Establishments. And essentially what it does is gives us the authority to enforce the state and federal guidelines around food handling. The fees will be on the fee schedule, which is already in our code, which was adopted back in July of 2022. No changes there, but it essentially gives us teeth to enforce these new regulations, state and federal regulations that came into effect last year. The town attorney has reviewed the document and had no comments or additions.
Okay, we need a motion for this, do we? Yes, we do.
Do we need a motion to adopt the new state mandated food handling regulations? Is that what we need? Is that the motion?
That's it. That'll do it. Any further discussion on the motion?
This would be to set a public hearing, sorry. Before we adopt the proposed ordinance, we need to have a public hearing.
Okay, thank you.
So hold on a sec.
Oh, so this is a new ordinance.
Do we have an existing town food code? Do we have what, regulations, health regulations, the town?
Used to be, for the record, Andrea Vetrano, sanitarian. It used to be set forth by the state, and they dissolved that and said now each district or town has to create their own.
So we have no health regulations in the town of Summers.
There's a few, but nothing as in-depth as this.
I mean, even this doesn't cover a lot of things. Okay. So I guess I never thought about it. So we have no regulation, because a lot of places have pretty extensive regulations, right? In addition to state statute, there's also local health regulations, right?
Yep.
For other towns.
For other towns.
We used to follow the state code
Yes.
until it was dissolved because they adopted the federal regulations here. So what we want to do is adopt these state regulations as our own, and it gives us the ability to enforce the state regulations.
Sounds good.
Makes sense to me.
Chapter 115, so it's Chapter 115 of the general statutes. What it says here, I'm reading on your.
Yeah, that would be a new chapter.
Of our stat ordinance.
Yeah.
Chapter 115.
Right.
It was an available section.
It was the next available section in our code.
So it'd be ordinance 115?
Yes.
Correct.
We don't typically assign an ordinance number. I mean, I'm just wondering, is this chapter 115 of the general statutes, or is this?
I think it's ordinance.
It says it's chapter 115, food handling establishment.
Who drafted this document?
Yeah.
In the charter and the code book, like the vendors and hawkers is chapter 196.
Yeah, so right
So
now,
115 was available in.
chapter 114 is our fees. The one following 114 is 130 about littering, 135 is mass gathering. So they're just 115's available.
But I mean, was 115 repealed? Was it previously used?
Nope.
No,
Nothing's did it.
No,
there was never anything there.
they leave gaps in between them.
So there's room to adopt new.
For some reason, Chapter 79 is reserved, but I don't know what for. They're holding on to 79. They want that one.
Yeah, the Code of Summers is not numerically sequential.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Any further discussion?
Well, what's the motion?
So you got to set a public hearing.
The motion is to set a
Second.
public
We
hearing.
got to pick a date, we got to pick a time, a location, I mean,
I don't know if you want to do it at the next BOS. Sounds like you've got executive session and the regular meeting.
we need notice.
You gotta do it.
Oh, you got
Oh,
to
you gotta notice it.
So I'm looking at the 15th, if you want to do more than 15, I could get the legal,
15th of August.
get it
in
in
by
by
the
then.
4th.
Okay.
So that'll give us enough time if you want to do,
7 o'clock.
yeah, would you like to do that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
So the
15th at
15th at 7 p.m.? Okay.
Is everybody available?
I just go check. This is August 15th, right?
Yes.
After our regular meeting, okay. So we got to make that motion then.
Yeah.
So we're going to have
So regular meeting and then the public hearing.
public hearing at 7 p.m.
Yes. Just need a motion.
So you just make the motion, Bob. You're all set.
How would we reword this then? I'm sorry.
I think we're just setting the public hearing because.
Okay.
Motion for a public hearing,
Oh, just motion for a public hearing on August 15th, is that?
7 p.m.
And the proposed food handling establishment ordinance.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Gotcha.
A second? Do we have a second for that?
I'll second it, yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make a correction. Temporary food permit is maximum 15 days, not 14. Or maximum 14 days, not 15. 2 weeks.
For the food truck.
That's for the food trucks, yeah.
Everybody.
Yes.
So Kim, that's going to be 7 o'clock. Just trying to get,
Good.
Thank you.
The next item is, again, Director Todd Rowland requests the Department of Transportation for an engineering study for improvements to the intersection of Main Street and Turnpike and Gulf Roads.
Correct. As you know, we've been having a fair number of accidents at that intersection. This has been an ongoing problem for quite a while. We had reached out to the Department of Transportation last year and asked them to take a look at it. They did. They made some improvements with better signage as well as cutting back the vegetation around that intersection. It helped. We also upgraded the signs on Gulf Road.
Were some stones also put in there?
Well, that was done by the private property
Big
owner.
rocks, yeah.
Yeah, they put the rocks up.
Just say the state would never put
We
stones.
don't do that. And they have caught some vehicles that got smashed into. However, the challenges there continue, so we're requesting that this body, as the legal traffic authority for Summers, makes a request to the Department of Transportation to conduct an engineering study to come up with alternatives for the intersection or improvements, be that a lighted intersection or some other improvements, changing the grade, something that would reduce the number and severity of crashes that we've been experiencing in the last 5 years or so at that intersection. It has to be it has to come from the Legal Traffic Authority. We did reach out to DOT's engineering department, and they booted it back to us and said that it has to come from this body, which is the Legal Traffic Authority, first, and then they'll look at it.
What sort of time do we anticipate turnaround here for this study?
6 to 12 months.
Great idea.
Yeah, I think this is a good move. I think it definitely moves in the right direction.
I don't even go down that road anymore. I mean, I'm serious.
How do you
I go
avoid-
down Battle Street, and I didn't go down that road
Yeah.
anymore. Because that road scares the heck out of me.
Well, it's the speed is in the blind hill coming down. That's
Oh, yeah.
the biggest
Yeah.
contributor, and that's the
Yeah.
most difficult part.
Yeah.
It's probably DOT has not initiated their own study, with engineers based on the traffic crash data, because it certainly hits the threshold.
Well, when they changed the law a couple of years ago and they gave the towns the ability to opt out of the having to follow the state's guidelines, it was an all or nothing. You can do your own thing, but if you do, you own everything, and you have to do your engineering studies, transportation studies, and for some larger towns, that makes sense. For smaller towns like Summers, we said, no, we're still going to follow.
Yeah.
You're going to take the lead, so they pay for all the engineering and what have you. But since then, they have been a lot more litigious, let's say, or structured about if you, the town of Summers, has a request, it has to go through this process, even though it's state roads. There's, the three of the four intersecting roads are state roads. They still view it as it has to come from the town, even on state roads. So it's administrative, more administrative than it used to be.
Need a motion authorizing the first selectman to sign on this letter, or what is we need?
How did I write it?
To request
The Board of Selectmen, as a local traffic authority, request Connecticut Department of Transportation conduct an engineering study that produces actionable findings for the intersection improvements to reduce or prevent crashes at the intersection of Main Street, Turnpike Road, and Gulf Roads.
So we'll make that motion.
So moved.
As stated. Any second on the motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, nice job with that. You gonna let the public know that we're making this request as well?
Yeah.
Or put something on our website maybe? I mean, we get a lot of public feedback on that intersection.
Yeah, and I'll email the abutting homeowners that keep emailing me.
Thank you.
All three of those intersections are troublesome.
Yeah.
528, 186, 83, all the state intersections on 190.
Yeah.
They've all had problems.
Well, it's a high-speed and high-volume road, so there's a lot of blind hills.
Also, the way people drive nowadays, which is scary.
Yeah, a lot of people don't think stops, or they believe stop signs are more of a suggestion.
Suggestion, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Director Rowland, we also has a request to adopt the CROG hazard mitigation plan update.
Yeah, we've been working with CROG. They're updating their hazard mitigation plan, which is now called the Hazard Mitigation and Climate Adaptation Plan. It's an update to the existing plan, and they've visited all the towns in their region. They did come, and we had a sit-down last year with all of the stakeholders from all the departments in town, updating our portion of this plan. And what essentially it does is that as long as we're a party to the plan, it gives us the opportunity for federal funding, federal and state funding when it comes to hazard mitigation projects. And it also, it's kind of a framework for things like flooding mitigation or hazard mitigation. Also, that hazard mitigation grant that we get every year, that's part and parcel of this, making sure that you have a plan. Instead of going out and trying to do our own thing, we're a member of CROG and utilize their resources tremendously. So it's a good thing for us and a good thing for them. It allows them to get federal funding as a regional organization.
It also keeps you current on what hazards exist and which ones have been taken care of.
Yeah, and CROG is extremely helpful to small towns like Summers. We don't have the resources, engineering, or study ability, and they do that on our behalf. So anytime we're looking for grants, I lean on them quite a bit for any kind of money for anything.
Great idea.
So I'm requesting the Board of Selectmen adopt the Capital Region Council of Governments Hazard Mitigation and Climate Adaptation Plan update and authorize the first selectman to execute the attached municipal resolution.
So the motion is to adopt the Capital Region Council of Governments Hazardous Mitigation and Climate Adaptation Plan update?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
Second it.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another item, Director Rowe.
I got two more.
We've got quite a list here.
Yeah, we know we see a lot of you tonight.
My next request is to allow the Morningstar Company to install a new roof on the Field Road Park Pavilion. This is the pavilion right behind the splash pad. It's basically a roof with stilts, and it's where people have picnics and sit and and chat, and there's picnic tables underneath it. The roof is very, very old and needs to be replaced. It's been on our radar for a little while. We haven't gotten to it. Bruce Urban, our Parks and Facilities Foreman, was approached by Brian Pizzamonte of Morningstar Roofing, and he had offered to replace the roof there for free at no charge to the town, in exchange for us allowing him to place a 24-inch by 18-inch sign with his business name on it, saying sponsoring the roof, kind of like we do with the other businesses that have donated pieces and parts at the park. I talked it over with the parks guys and the public works folks. They're all in favor of it, and the zoning enforcement officer is also in favor of it. It is a practice we've done in the past. We've accepted sign installations from contractors and fence installations, and we had the community use money from USA Hauling in the past that we've used at the park. So it's in line with what we've done in the past. Morningstar Roofing is a licensed and insured roofing company that already sent all their paperwork to us. So I'm requesting that the Board of Selectmen allow Morningstar Roofing to replace the roof on the pavilion at the Upper Park and Field Row Park right behind the splash pad.
Great idea.
What do you estimate the cost to be if we did it ourselves?
If we did, it'd probably be $2,500 thereabouts. Contractors double that, something in that range.
I'm happy to make a motion to allow Morningstar Roofing LLC to replace the park pavilion roof at no cost to the town in exchange for a sign to be placed on the pavilion.
Second that.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Did it.
Their names on it. My last item is I request the Board of Selectmen to authorize the first selectman to execute the attached agreement with the town of Stafford to continue the building official services for the town of Summers. The town of Stafford sent us a new agreement with an updated fee. This agreement, as we had requested, does not have the fire marshal piece in it. We think it would be cleaner just to have the building official services for 20 hours a week for the town of Summers, and Stafford has provided both their building official and their assistant building official. They switch off days. That has worked very well over the last year. Both Glenn and Mark they work great with staff. They're very responsive to our needs. And they're very professional. Operationally, it works good. The new agreement is significantly more expensive, so that's a bit disappointing, but I understand, it is what it is. When they offered this, the first selectman did ask me to see what our options were. I reached out to 5 other towns around us and talked to the building officials in those towns, Langton, Enfield, East Windsor, Tolland, and Vernon. All of them were very gracious and all offered to help us if we get in a bind. None of them have extra staff and really probably don't have the bandwidth to commit to 20 hours a week at a minimum for us. I also asked all of them about the thought of creating a shared services group, something similar, I guess you would think, to health districts, and there's something that Glenn and I have been talking about for a while. And they're all in favor of the idea, and actually Krog tried to do something like this last year. It never really got off the ground because there's a lot of logistical concerns in staffing and back-end things, like everybody have to use the same software, and there would be an upfront capital expense, and you'd have to hire more admin staff. And so it wouldn't be less expensive. Over time, it would probably work better, but there's a lot, it's a big hurdle.
It's a stretch.
Yeah, nobody wants to be first.
Yeah, I understand.
So it's challenging. I also get the job postings for building officials, and it continues to run 13 to 15 job openings in the state of Connecticut right now. One of the challenges that we have as a border town is that there's no reciprocity for building officials. So Massachusetts or New York or Rhode Island building official can't come in and even do inspections. In Connecticut, they would have to get licensed. The state is looking at that. They know there's an issue. They're trying to come up with alternatives and try to make it easier or more reasonable to get your license.
It's been a problem for a long time.
Yeah, but there's a lot of legal and logistical hurdles to overcome. So they're working on it, but nothing's going to happen quickly or soon. Ideally, I would like us to hire our own full-time permanent Summers building officials.
Right.
And my intention is to rewrite the job description and bring it to this body for approval, and then post an ad and see if we can find that person. Until that time, I recommend we stay with Stafford, approve the new agreement, and stay the course. It's expensive, but it does work well operationally, and they're very professional
And
about
we have
it.
no other options either.
And there's really, and everybody's in the same boat. I mean, these towns are screaming for building. I mean, poor Bloomfield is now offering stupid money for a per diem official just to come and do some inspections because they can't staff that position. So it's challenging.
I know there's some small towns in eastern Connecticut that they can't find anybody.
Yeah, they've got, well, the gentleman in Bloomfield, I think, is covering 5 towns right now. He
5
wanted to
towns?
retire, but
Wow.
he isn't. So it's a problem. There's not enough building officials for the need.
Well, thanks for trying. I know you tried awful hard, so I appreciate your effort.
I make a motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Stafford for building official services as presented, and authorize the first selectman to execute any documents related to such agreement.
Second?
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to stick around for the roads because it's kind of my baby.
Yeah, I kind of figured you're going to be doing that.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Forgot to compliment you on your shirts, by the way.
Thank you.
At least you know who they are, right?
We get work for it.
I'm just
Okay, Mr. Wissinger.
All right. So, last meeting, the Board of Selectmen adopted the 5-year roads plan that Todd had been working on. Him and I collectively have finalized and sent to you. And it was requested to have a little bit of a timeline and so forth with the upcoming resolution. So I put together a slideshow deck for you guys. I'm assuming you have it in your packets?
Yes, we do.
Yes. Okay, cool.
Is this what you're going to do with the board?
Yep. So as we go through it, page 3, we did adopt it. It shows the 5 years and the amount of road mileage planned, total mileage of just over 22 miles of roadway, potential $6.9 million cost. The plan does remain open to change in coming years if parking lots or sidewalks or things of that nature come into, dams at Camp Iapo or whatever, can all be added into these. So this request is just for the first year of road resurfacing. And I listed all the roads that are planned for the first year of road resurfacing there. It's 7.4 miles in the first year. Then each year goes.
This is just for the first year of the 5-year plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So then each year going forward, the plan is to each November have a resolution to adopt on the November ballot. This allows, again, the plan to remain fluid, changes be made based on the current climate. We can look and see if interest rates are favorable. We can combine multiple resolutions into one issuance to save monies and so forth as well there. So the 2024-2025 resolution timeline, we start with today, the Board of Selectmen's resolution. This recommends to the Board of Finance and provisionally call a special town meeting. The Board of Finance resolution will then be on August 6th. They vote to recommend the appropriation and bond authorization to the town meeting. After that, we can send out an informational mailer to every household. No later than September 20th, the town clerk will have to submit the referendum question to the Secretary of State to have it on the ballot. On October 3rd, we will notice the town meeting. The town meeting will then, it's 5 days before the town meeting. The town clerk will prepare the absentee ballots on October 4th. October 8th, we'll have the special town meeting to consider the appropriation and bond resolution, and that meeting will be adjourned and submitted to resolution to referendum. After October 8th, but prior to October 16th, the town clerk will warn the electors and notice the referendum, the date, time, and location of polling places. November 5th is the actual referendum date. However, early voting begins on October 21st, and because this is on the ballot, that's why all of the dates are kind of pushed back some, because these do come into play on early voting. So that would be the timeline that we would be following.
Thank you very much.
Next page, I kind of show you the potential impacts over the first 5 years. We would, with the use of the debt service fund, we would mitigate a lot of the impact to the direct budget with just budget transfers, utilizing the premium spread over multiple years, as well as the fund balance that we retain in that fund to offset mill rate impacts. So over the course of that 5 years, it's a potential for a 0.28 mill increase impact versus just in the general fund. It would be just in 1 year a 0.51 increase.
So just 1 year would be a little bit.
Yep.
Well, that's not bad.
Takeaways from it. This plan was vetted by Public Works and Finance. It's aligned with the Board of Selectmen's vision to improve roadways, to add walkability to town. We achieved more than 20 miles of paved roads with a minimal tax rate impact. And the plan does remain fluid and living to be added to and extended to future boards.
Great job, Ron. Great job.
So any questions before we get to the actual resolution itself?
What's the issuance, 20-year?
10 year.
10 year, okay.
10 years is what I'm planning on, yep.
Okay.
And the other benefit is people will stop calling me and asking me when their road's going to be paved.
Yeah.
Also stretches out the total amount that we need for roads.
Yeah,
I think it's
right.
a good idea.
Oh, yeah.
And doing it on 10 years as well, I mean, by the time we issue the last one, we'll already be paid 5 years on the first one, and it'll all, it'll be on the
Start
tail
growing
end.
grass.
Never-ending
Right,
maintenance.
You mitigate the interest cost by keeping it low. The longer you push it out, obviously the more interest cost there is. So.
Looks good.
Great job.
I think there'll be a lot of support. I mean, it's something that's important, and I think there's a lot of public support for it as well.
So the Board of Selectmen would have to approve the resolution authorizing an appropriation of $2 million for road improvements and the financing of said appropriation by the issuance of general obligation bonds and notes in anticipation of such bonds in an amount not to exceed $2 million, as well as establishing a date for referendum of November 5th.
I did make the motion, like you just said. Is that okay?
I'll second the motion.
Any further discussion? Did you mention the date for the?
November 5th for the date of referendum.
Referendum, okay, got you. All right, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is yours, Brian, as well.
Yep.
Involving cemetery.
So the regular cemetery committee meeting held on July 10th. The committee unanimously voted to increase the per lot cost from $800 to $1,000 effective October 1st, 2024. This decision was made after surveying surrounding cemeteries for their cost per lot. The survey returned the following results. Infield is $850 per grave. East Windsor, $1,150 per grave. Woodlawn and Sudfield is $1,120 per grave. St. Joseph's in Sudfield is $800 per grave. However, they have also recommended an increase to their current costs. St. Patrick's is $1,000 per grave, and Summers currently at $800 per grave. Based on that information and recommendation from the cemetery committee, I'm requesting that the Board of Selectmen adopt the new cost per lot for $1,000 effective October 1st.
How long was it, 800? I'm just curious.
Been 800 since before I started here. I don't remember when the price was.
Probably close to 20 years.
Yeah. Wow.
So Bravo.
I think it's
Just
two.
judging on what I paid 20 years.
So, how, most plots are single plots, double plots?
Most are double lots.
Double.
So the cost would then be
It'd
2,000?
be 2,000 for a lot. It would be 1,000 per grave. We base it on per grave. The concept as well is with the next section that is going to be mapped out, that they will all be single grave lots, and so then that way the pricing will line up with them, and then you buy 1, 2, 3,
But I
4.
mean, like the estate lots would then become 1,000.
1,000 per, so there, and there's 20 in there.
How about the, what's that structure?
Columbarium.
Yeah, how about
Columbarium.
those rates?
Those rates have not changed since it was put in. Right now, the the top row is 1975. The two middle rows are 1875, and the two bottom rows are 1675. You get 2 cremations per niche in those. So it's still slightly
expensive.
less cheaper to go in the ground, but we're getting closer.
And there's no ordinance on this. This is
Nope.
just a fee schedule.
Right. And the Board of Selectmen are the only ones who are authorized to adopt new fees or change fees.
So you basically need a motion to increase the lot cost from $800 to $1,000?
Correct.
The
Effective
grave, per
October
grave,
1st.
per grave.
Effective October 1st?
I was like, is that a fire alarm? It kind of is.
$1,000 per grave.
Yeah, $1,000 per grave.
Yeah, from 8 to 1,000.
All right. Give a second on the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Next, we have another item.
Yep, and then the last item that I have for tonight, after we had, during our kickoff meeting with the software vendor, All Funeral Services, one of their requests was that we put a logo on the website that they are creating for us. They asked if we had a cemetery logo. I told them no, we didn't. They said that they would just create one for us then and put it on there. And I informed them, I said, you don't know how government works then, obviously. So I reached out to an artist to create a logo for the summer cemetery. We went through 3 different iterations, starting first with almost like a cartoon design that as soon as I saw it, I was like, no, that's not going to work. The second design was a gated design with a big S on it. I sent that to the cemetery committee. They all said, they all kind of looked at it and went, it feels closed off. It doesn't feel welcoming. So then we ended up on the third design, which was an archway with a fence beside it, which everybody agreed felt welcoming and inviting to put on a website. Then the artist took that design and created 6 different styles from it that were presented to the cemetery committee at their July 10th meeting. They reviewed those 6 different designs and unanimously decided on the one that is attached to the memo. So I'm requesting that the Board of Selectmen adopt the Summer Cemetery's logo as presented to be used on the new cemetery website and any web-created documents moving forward.
Well, I think it's a great product and a great effort by both the cemetery
He
committee.
actually did it in 3 days.
Used to take years.
Looks terrific, I think.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah, it's good.
Very inviting.
Make a motion to approve the summer cemetery logo as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, any further discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. Brian and Pat.
Oh, have we made any more progress on any of the stuff we've talked about with cemeteries? I mean, the finances, the regulations, the,
Regulations, no. sort of on the finances. In talks with Kevin Nichols, it doesn't look like Morgan Stanley is going to be able to set up a trust fund. So now we're going to have to go out to RFP to move those monies somewhere else, at which time we will create the guidelines around it as well. So yeah, all still in the works.
We're working on it, in other words. Yeah. Good question, though. Good update, thank you. Next item is approval of the minutes of July
Tim,
3rd. Yes.
there's one other item for cemetery. The cemetery committee voted to drop the surcharge for out-of-town residents when they purchase a grave. There was a surcharge of $100, and we voted to drop that as well.
Yeah, that was part of
That
it.
needs to be cleared with you or not.
That was part of the new fee structure for the per graves. It's just $1,000 per grave.
Okay, great.
We
Thank you for
Yeah, it
informing
used
us
to-
to that.
We just have too many residents who have been here for many years who go out of state
Yeah.
for 6 months plus a day, which means they are not considered legal residents
Floyd,
any
Florida.
longer. Right. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that goes
On top
back.
of that, I mean, trying to sell a grave online and having to ask if they're a resident for, prove residence first to determine what the price is, seemed like it was going to probably be a programming nightmare.
Yeah.
And so it's easier to just have a flat rate and call it.
I think
call
that
it a
makes
day.
sense.
Makes sense.
Much better. Good idea.
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes of July 3, 2024, special meeting of this board.
Make a motion to approve the July 3rd, 2024 special meeting minutes of the Board of Selectmen as presented. Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? All those in support say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
And I'd like to thank you gentlemen for coming to the meeting early tonight, so I could.
Oh,
make
certainly.
the meeting. Very nice of
We
you.
got done by 6, so we're good.
Yeah, you're very good.
Yeah.
Really outstanding. Thank you very much.